Words Margaret Thatcher, Danny, what do they mean to you?
Well, I doubt you'll get many people ringing up your programme saying this, James. But to me, I grew up in the sort of early 80s, really, and I think if you lived through it, you can kind of remember that time. I don't know. Can you? I mean,
yeah, of course I can.
I think if you live through it, it sort of hangs heavy on the palate. You can remember it, and you can see through your mind's eye at the time. I mean, for example, in my family, she's always held with very high regard, Margaret Thatcher, and I think we are a typical example of the sort of people that did really well under her. I think in the last general election, let me give you an example, in the last general election we've just had, there was a word that was floating around that everybody was using, and it was aspiration. Do you remember that?
Yes, of course.
And they were saying, why
meaningless.
The Tories win, you know, and the aspiration was being bandied around, and that's the word or the feeling that would describe her tenure for families like mine. I come from an old...
No, mate, she carved up stuff that everybody owned and gave it to people who already had a few quid.
Well, no, but I'm telling you about my family. From my family's point of view, my mum was born in a flat in the Old Kent Road. My nan was from Stepney. My family didn't have a P2P in, right? But at the start of her tenure, she kind of sold that aspiration. And my family, well, a few branches of my family started up their own business. They bought their own homes.
How did she help them do that?
Because I think she...
And when you say they bought their own homes, were they former council houses?
I think they were, yeah.
They weren't hers to sell, really. That's why we've got massive housing problems now.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying to you, right? So at the time, families like mine did really well out of that. They bought their own homes.
Even if it was bad for the whole country?
Well, it's only bad if you don't build any more.
Well, she didn't.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that is true.
And then she sold off all the utilities as well, didn't she?
She did. And
how's that working out for you? Well, how do you like having the highest gas bills in Europe?
Well, again, see, this is what... Every time I hear your programme, right...
It's a simple question, mate. How do you like having the highest gas bills in Europe?
I think it's awful. Right?
Yeah. But God bless Margaret Thatcher and all who's sailing her. No, I like it. I think you're right. I'm sure if I'd been able to buy a council house on the cheap under Margaret Thatcher, I'd hold a candle for her as well. But have we got anything that made the country a better place rather than just you and your family?
James, every time there's a debate on the radio, why does it always have to be so black and white? It's a bit like...
This is a celebration of the grey area, this programme. Just answer the question, my friend. What do you think she did that made the country better rather than just your family's bank balance and property portfolio?
I think she instilled a kind of feeling of maybe not up north, but certainly down.
Well, when I say the country, I do kind of mean all of it.
Yeah, well, the country, nothing.
Right.
She
but God bless her, eh?
Well, as I say, I wish she was good to people like me. So she was.
I think you're right. I'm sorry you felt unwelcome. I think you've nailed it in the very first call. People who made a few quid out of her look back on her very fondly and stuff the country.